Bonjour à tous, on va redémarrer comme le temps est compté. Et une petite précision d'ailleurs, il y a une erreur dans le programme. Donc cette session terminera à 12h30. Donc c'est une bonne nouvelle pour certains sans doute et une mauvaise nouvelle pour ceux qui commencent à avoir faim. J'espère que vous avez pu prendre un petit café. Donc cette troisième session va se tourner davantage vers les besoins des musées et les institutions qui détiennent les collections et essayer de voir comment l'image digitale peut mieux servir le musée. La transformation numérique offre des opportunités sans précédent, on l'a vu, pour valoriser, pour alimenter et pour partager notre patrimoine culturel. Et très important, la possibilité de créer de nouvelles connexions entre les collections, entre les disciplines et également entre les cultures. Et pour saisir ces opportunités, on l'a vu dans le rapport, le secteur a besoin de reconnaître et cultiver sa valeur à la fois économique et sociétale et se servir de l'image numérique pour renforcer et mieux servir ses missions fondamentales. Donc voilà le sujet de cette session. Et nous sommes ravis d'accueillir 3 personnes qui participent pleinement et activement à cette transformation digitale. Donc d'abord Karin Glasemann, qui est chargée des activités numériques au National Museum de Stockholm. Ensuite, on aura Roxane Peters, qui est spécialiste de propriété intellectuelle dans les industries créatives. Et on va terminer avec Judith, je vais essayer de bien Bleden, qui est conseiller en droit d'auteur et culture numérique à Kennisland, un think tank basé à Amsterdam. Et elle est également conseillère en stratégie à Cumnia, où elle travaille sur la réforme du droit d'auteur dans l'Union européenne. Donc je vais inviter Karin à démarrer. Et juste une petite précision, donc, ce qui est très intéressant avec le cas du National Museum de Stockholm, c'est quelque chose qu'on a vu beaucoup dans le rapport. C'était la fermeture des portes en 2013 pour une rénovation et le musée vient tout juste de réouvrir, qui a poussé l'institution à s'intéresser de plus près à leur présence digitale. Finalement, le fait de se retrouver privé de murs physiques pousse les institutions à vraiment se pencher sur l'espace digital. Donc voilà, Karin va nous présenter la nouvelle politique digitale de son institution.
That's right. Merci, Katie. Thank you all for inviting me. Thank you all for coming to listen to this presentation. I'm going to share our experiences with you that we had when we decided on an open access policy 2 years ago. Precisely, I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about who we are, what we did and why we did so, and then I would like to widen the scope a little bit and talk about more generally why we need open licenses. And I would also come back to our particular experiences as the National Museum of Stockholm, to what happened then, what the step of going open do with us particularly. So, who are we? We are Sweden's Museum of Art and Design. We were founded in 1866 and host a collection of 700,000 works of art. It's sculptures, paintings, art on paper, and applied art and design. As Katie said, we've been closed for renovation since 2013, and we reopened a mere week ago on October 13th, 2018. The re-inauguration was a huge success, and we've seen a lot of publicity, very nice reviews, of which I've taken the freedom to bring one along. The New York Times says, "A restoration brings Sweden's National Museum into the 21st century." When it opened in 1866, the museum in Stockholm was one of Europe's most modern, and ambitious overall aims to return into that position. It's extremely great for us to see this because it's been our goal for 5 years to reclaim that position amongst the most modern museums in the world, actually. I've taken this review along because it also poses a question. What does it mean to be a museum in the 21st century? And I will come back to this question later on, but first of all, I would like to tell you what happened in 2016. What did we do in 2016? Following the upload of our collection to Europeana, we started a collaboration with Wikimedia Sweden, where we provided them with artist data for Wikidata. So all we did was give them date of birth and date of death of artists in our collection. What happened then was that volunteers in the Wikimedia community started to add data about the works in our collection. Inspired by this interest that arose around our collection, we thought it was about time to rethink our licensing and image policy. Following inspiring examples by many pioneer museums, and backed by the Swedish National Archives, who just released an open access policy, we chose not to put any license at all on any two-dimensional work of art where the original had become, was in the public domain. Additional to that, we fed our online database with IIIF links that both allow deep zoom and easy reusability. But by far the most interesting step was that we provided 3,000 images to Wikimedia Commons. So we chose the paintings and that we had good enough image material available, and where the original, as I said, was in the public domain. And one of the things we did together with Wikimedia Sweden was to actually state this license that you see here, where we say that this is a work of art in the public domain. National Museum does not see any copyright that belongs to the digital reproduction. We ask you to quote the source, but there's no legal obligation for you to do so. Like that, all the Wikidata sets were fed with high quality images, and we provided new Wikidata sets for those that were still missing. Why did we do this? It's simply because we believe that National Museum belongs to all of us, and so do these images. They are to be used and enjoyed at all levels. We hope that our open collection will continue to inspire creative new uses and interpretations. This is my Director General who said that sort of together with the inauguration. So it was really great to see this. With the following set of arguments, I would like to point out that I believe this is a very appropriate reaction for any cultural heritage institution to how the world looks like today. So let's widen the scope a bit. Why do we need open licenses? I guess you're familiar with this argument that whatever is not on the web is not in the world. According to the study, the Swedes and the internet, around 95% of the Swedish population are online. 85% of the Swedish population has access to at least one smartphone. Actually, 100% of the under 45-year-old Swedish population is online. The web is the most important source for information, but also for leisure and communication. So far, I guess you know this, and you probably agree to this, and you probably know similar numbers for France. I would like to draw the line a bit further and say that whatever is only on your website and not nowhere else is still not on the web. Because I ask you to look at how we consume digital today. People don't only want to find and experience stuff, they want to share it themselves. They want to say that it's me that found this beautiful autumn image on the National Archives website. So why do we need open licenses for plain and simple sharing? Most museums point out when you say this that, well, our licenses are not there to hunt down illegal use of our images on Twitter. And they shouldn't prevent people to do that. But if you look at the museum's licensing policy and most social media licensing policies, you know that this is illegal. This is exactly what it is. You cannot do this. And yet, these images are there, and they get used and seen a lot, and most people don't think there could be anything wrong with posting an old painting with or without a funny heading. None of us spends their days with tracking down these users on social media, But then if you don't follow up your closed licenses, what is the point in having them at all? Any of us who's worked in education knows that you need to attract your pupils by engaging them in subjects that appeal to them and that they connect to. Or better still, something that makes them feel important. And most of our institutions are struggling with being a communicative, open, low threshold and inviting museum. And yet, 46% of those that do not participate in an art or design museum's offering cited that it's not for someone like me as a barrier. So when people now start to get engaged with our content online and start using it as they see fit, is it really the time for us to point out that this is not for someone like you to use? I would like to come back to my statement that whatever is only on your own website and nowhere else is still not in the world. Because you can turn it around too. You can ask, okay, what is there outside on the web that should actually be on my website only? I don't know if you've heard about the yellow milkmaid syndrome. This is something that's been thoroughly examined by Europeana and the Rijksmuseum. The fact that if you Google your most important assets, you will find them all online. We've had the example of the Mona Lisa yesterday. They're all there in the worst possible qualities, in the most disgusting lighting, and free for all people to access and use. And it's true for most of our collections. Apart from the ugliness of most of those images, there's another problem to those unofficial copies that are floating the web. Because although they might be depicting your collection, what are they telling the users? Okay, and this is where I have to make a confession, because you think I'm all about nice images and creative reuse on this. It's partly true, but everybody who's worked with me longer than a week knows that all I care about is metadata. And why is that so? Because for us and for our content, it's not only no metadata, no future, it's even more no metadata means no home, no source, no hope, really. The only way to make sure that the audience kind of understands what it's looking at when it sees images of your museum's collection somewhere on the web is to provide the image yourself, including rich and correct metadata, a link that is pointing home, and an easy licensing and reuse policy to follow. Which might, as I said earlier, whatever the license, people will use your images, and they will share it with funny comments or not, which might lead to the situation that someone, say me, gets interested in this funny little tweet. And because I don't know who she is, the only thing I can do is go do a Google image search, which provides me quickly with an answer, which unfortunately is completely wrong. Because it's only on the 5th page of my Google result that I see the correct information, that this is actually not Anne Hathaway, but Lady Anne Clifford in the National Portrait Gallery. Nobody goes to the 5th page of a Google research. If you do this with one of our images, you will get the correct information directly, and because it's our images that illustrate the Wikipedia articles, you will also be pointed directly back to our online collection. So why do we need open licenses? Because the collection and our knowledge on those collections need to be where the users are. Remember that it's because of those amazing collections that most museums were founded, and most of them were founded also as a source of inspiration. It's also because of those extraordinary knowledge around those collections that we have in the institutions that we are still relevant to the public. So make sure that the knowledge and the collections are where the users are. Where are the users? We saw a very successful inauguration last weekend. We had 18,000 visitors on one weekend. The museum only takes 2,000 at a time. So this was a huge success. We're looking confident into the future. We're thinking about 600 to 800,000 visitors the first year. And I don't think we should compare online and on-site visits like one-to-one, but to me it's quite obvious that we should be as obsessed with our reach online as we are with visitor numbers on site. Because 61% of the internet users say the best thing about the internet is the easy accessible information. The internet has become the most important source for information for all Swedes. And where do those researches start? On your museum homepage or on Google? And where does Google send you? In almost all the cases. That's right, to Wikipedia. So when we started collaborating with Wikipedia, we saw a reaction nobody had hoped for. We saw reactions from France, from Germany, from Spain, all over Sweden. We saw reactions from Brazil, and we had an article in an Armenian newspaper. But the most important thing about it was that those images were picked up directly and rapidly by the Wikimedia community. So in the first week, 1 week of being online, our images on Wikimedia Commons were used in more than 100 articles, and they were viewed 104,000 times in 1 week. Now they're in over 1,000 articles, and they have 17 million views a year. I would also like to add that we have had no extra staff, very little time, and very little money allocated to the Wikimedia collaboration project. It was really just taking what was already there and putting it where the users actually are. So even a thing that is remote, very remotely connected to art history, such as what is a fox, now leads you directly to images in the collection of the National Museum of Sweden. This is the French article about the fox, of course. So why do we need open licenses? Because whatever is on your website and nowhere else is still not in the world. And some of you might want to hear arguments that are more connected to academia than to Wikipedia. So I would like to remind you that according to a study of the College Art Association, 1/3 of visual artists, 1/5 of artists, more than 1/2 of editors and publishers, and more than 1/3 of art historians have avoided or abandoned work in their field because of copyright concerns. So how could we, as the publicly funded National Museum of Sweden, claim that we fulfill our mission to foster art and art history when we do not lower the threshold for art historians, researchers, and students to come at our images that they really need for their research? I would actually like to go on a lot longer and talk about some risks that there are and how we tackle them, but we can maybe come back to that in the discussion. For now, I would just like to remind you that closed licenses do not always prevent bad people from doing bad. We had this discussion about morality yesterday, but they do always prevent good people from doing good. So if you do want that teachers use your images for good stuff, make sure that the barriers are very, very low. So I have a few more images on what happened then. I have 1 minute. Okay, let's race through that. It's been quite a journey to come to this open access decision. What happened then? We've seen twice as many visitors to our online collection, but most importantly, we're seeing our material everywhere in those projects that we ourselves had never dreamed up, like Art Up Your Tap by Kennisland, a browser extension that feeds your browser with art all the time. Just if you forget everything else, just remember Art Up Your Tap, download it, be careful, it's really addictive. We see our material heavily used in hackathons. There are Twitter bots tweeting out. There are a lot of stuff happening very near the data on Wikidata and Wikimedia. There are timelines with our collection. There are maps with our collection like this. This is a graveyard in Stockholm pointing out where all the artists are buried. But additionally to the wonderful stuff that is happening outside, we're also seeing a lot that is happening inside. There's an obvious impact inside the museum. The more our online presence was going outside, the more it became natural that the digitized collection are actually a very valuable asset that you cannot ignore, which is just as important to our visitors as a visit on site. So here are just a few of our own. Would you like to see? Was somebody trying to take a picture of this? So there were some of our own projects, like a plug-in to our website so that we can easily build online exhibitions. As you can see, the open data, open access thing is a very important part of all of it. And the most ambitious project was our new visitor app that is fed directly through our database, our collection management database. So, things to learn from going open at GLAM. I would like to quote Professor Ellen Euler from the University of Applied Sciences in Potsdam, who says that it's first that when cultural agencies use digital technologies to use and foster new research methods and start working collaboratively that they have started to think digitally. This is something that is really important and can really be seen in our own institution, because what we learned from Open GLAM is that the digitized collection is the heart of all digital activities, but the museum is not the main user of this collection. So for now, I think the answer about why we need open licenses is because we're only just starting to understand how they will change our institutions and how they will make us able to make cultural heritage become a part of people's everyday life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karin.